Imagine two friends having tea. The first one adds 1 teaspoon of sugar to their tea. The second one sees this and says, I have stopped eating sugar totally. I only eat jaggery. Then he goes on and adds 2 teaspoons of jaggery to his tea. Who do you think made the healthier choice? If you answer the second person, you might be grossly misinformed. In fact, the difference between sugar and jaggery is much smaller than what the nutritionists in our country want you to believe. So, before you spend some 200 rupees on organic jaggery with some Himalayan branding, do check out this video. So, Jaggery has almost reached a superhero status in our country. It is marketed as natural, chemical free, and rich in minerals. It is also said to be very good for digestion and immunity, and good for everything probably except paying your income tax. So, is it really that healthy? Today, let's separate science from tradition. So sugar is extracted from sugar cane or sugar beet. It is then purified until only sucrose is left. That is why it is white in color. 1 teaspoon of white sugar contains nearly 16 kilocalories, almost entirely refined carbohydrates, virtually no minerals or no vitamins. That is why it is called as empty calories. So coming to jaggery. Jaggery is also made from the same sugar cane. The juice is boiled until the water evaporates. There is no heavy refining involved. That is why jaggery retains the brown color and some of the vitamins and minerals. So this is the point where marketing begins. You will generally hear everybody say, jaggery contains iron. True. Jaggery contains lot of calcium. Also true. Jaggery contains lots of antioxidants. Again, technically true. But here's the most important question. How much? Because nutrition isn't only about any nutrient being present. It's about the nutrient being in meaningful quantities. Now let's do some basic math. Suppose the daily requirement of iron is 17 to 21 milligrams, which is generally the required quantity for any adult woman. Now, 10 grams of jaggery, which is almost nearly 2 teaspoons, contains only a fraction of the required daily quantity. So, to eat a meaningful quantity of iron, you are required to eat a lot of quantity of jaggery, and by then you would have consumed lot of calories. This is like saying, I eat chocolate cake because it contains milk. Yes, technically correct. But practically speaking, this is not the best strategy. If you want to eat good quantities of iron, eat green leafy vegetables, lentils or beans, or even animal sources if you can consume them, not desserts. Now here's another common myth that jaggery doesn't raise the blood sugar levels, but this is again not true. Unfortunately, your pancreas never attended Instagram University. So irrespective of the source of sugars, let it be white crystals, brown jaggery, organic jaggery, or any kind of Himalayan jaggery blessed by the monks, the body still breaks majority of it into simple sugars. Yes, jaggery does have a slightly lower glycemic index compared to sugar, but the difference is not very significant to call it diabetes friendly. So if you have diabetes, switching from sugar to jaggery is not usually the solution. So is jaggery better? Yes and no. Because if we compare equal amounts of sugar and jaggery, jaggery contains slightly more amounts of vitamins and minerals. So yes, jaggery does win, but only marginally, because it only contains marginally more amounts of vitamins and minerals. So it's like comparing two luxury sedans. The first one gives a mileage of 8 kilometers per liter, whereas the second one gives a mileage of 8.5 kilometers per liter. So the second one is technically better, but neither are fuel efficient. So the biggest problem isn't between choosing sugar and jaggery. The biggest problem is the amount we are consuming them in. So what should you ultimately do? If you really like jaggery and enjoy its taste, go ahead and have it. But don't think of it as a health supplement. Treat it exactly the way you treat sugar. Use it occasionally and in moderation. Not something to sprinkle on everything you eat just because it's brown. Remember, brown automatically doesn't mean it's healthy, because if it did, then chocolate cake would probably qualify as a salad. So here's the takeaway. Jaggery is slightly more nutritious than white sugar, but at the end of the day, both are still added sugars. If your goal is better health, do not obsess on replacing white sugar with jaggery, but rather keep an eye on the amount of consumption. Also, focus on eating whole foods, eat more protein, more fiber, and lower overall sugar quantity in your entire diet. And that is where the real health gain comes from, not from changing the color of your food sweetener. If this video changed the way you look at Jaggery, share it with someone who insists that Jaggery is healthy because it's natural. And if you enjoy evidence-based health advice without the nutritional myths, consider subscribing. There's a lot more conventional wisdom that definitely deserves a second look. I am Dr. Karthik. I'll see you in the next video.